For today's movie review, it's a rather special review on my behalf because not only am I reviewing the kickoff to the Phase 3 films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's also my overall 50th episode, and what better way to celebrate my 50th review than by reviewing Captain America Civil War. For the plot of Captain America Civil War, because the events of past several Marvel films, along with an international incident that occurs within this movie, the Avengers are split because they're trying to figure out, are they doing more harm than good, which leads into an all-out war between those who follow Captain America and those who follow Iron Man. In terms of what I liked about the movie at first has a slow start, but it gradually picks up. The costume design for all the characters is great, and the action scenes are amazing. Even the most mundane one, like Captain America and the Winter Soldier battling a bunch of SWAT goons in a stairway. This one to me stood out because you have these two superpowered beings using items from their natural environment to their advantage. When was the last time you saw that in a superhero movie? Well, a movie in general. Like, the only movie I could think of at the top of my head where you have these two characters that use their environment to their advantage is fucking War of the Gargantuas, man. And that was about two Bigfoots fighting each other. Now, anytime Marvel decides to introduce a new character into the movies, they're usually the best thing about the movie. Kind of like how with Avengers Age of Ultron, granted, we got 4 new characters introduced, but really only one of them stood out, which was the Vision. For this movie, we had 2. One of them being the Black Panther, and the other one being Spider-Man. As far as the Black Panther character goes, if I had to compare Black Panther, he's kind of like Wonder Woman from Dawn of Justice, where I like the way they introduced the character, I just did not like the personality of Wonder Woman, since I didn't feel it represented the comic book character. With Black Panther, on the other hand, I like the way they introduce him, and I like his personality because it matches his character from the comics. The costume for him is great. The fight scenes he's in are great, and I like how they divided his origin up. Show his one part of his origin for this movie, while saving the other half of his origin for his own spin-off movie. And, like Wonder Woman, I am really curious about seeing this character's spin-off movie. Now, as for Spider-Man on the other hand, this is quite the big deal, because originally he wasn't even supposed to be in the movie, and his role would have been replaced by Black Panther. But since we already have Black Panther, it was just an unexpected surprise to see Spider-Man. And when I first heard they were reintroducing Spider-Man, I rolled my eyes because, 1, we're reintroducing Spider-Man on the big screen for a 3rd time, and he's gonna be a fucking high schooler again. But then I thought about it. You know what? Spider-Man in this continuity of films makes a lot of sense for him to be a high schooler, because when we really think about it, all the main characters in this franchise are a bunch of middle-aged adults. So having Spider-Man be a high schooler again is quite refreshing. And I also like the way he plays off both Iron Man and Captain America, because the way he plays off Iron Man, they both treat each other with respect, and he views Iron Man as both a father figure and a mentor. With Captain America, on the other hand, even though they're fighting for the most part, Captain America has respect for the kid through his line of, "You have heart, kid." That really got to me. And I also like the fact that he's not the main showstopper of the movie, where when the initial fight between the two factions ends, I like the fact that Iron Man's just like, "Kid, you did good, now go home." I was like, you know what? I'm content with this. And no origin story, because, we don't need to see this kid's origin story for a 3rd time. This is how you do a superhero versus superhero movie, because going back to Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, okay, that's like a 2.5-hour movie, and when the characters do fight against each other, I did not understand why these two characters needed to fight. And when they do explain the motivations to each of those characters, it's the most contrived reasons you could think of. It's like something out of a fucking fan fiction. It's that bad. But with something like this movie, 15 minutes in, I understood everything. In terms of, okay, what event kickstarts the movie, along with character motivations. Like, I could understand why characters A, B, and C decide to side with Iron Man, while characters X, Y, and Z side with Captain America. Then again, with something like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we've had time to get to know and love these characters, while DC, on the other hand, is just trying to play fucking catch-up. In terms of what I disliked about the movie, okay, this first one is a minor problem, which revolves around Aunt May, because Along with reintroducing Spider-Man, they also reintroduced Aunt May, or in this case, Aunt MILF. Like, when I first saw her, I thought that was like someone else's mother or like the landlord or something, but I was like, wait, this is Aunt May? What the fuck? I usually think of some elderly woman, not some hot chick. Hell, even the movie addressed this problem. Granted, she only appears in the movie for like 1 second, but man, it's just, it's so distracting. In terms of what I actually disliked about the movie, I feel like the title kind of misleads you because, granted, yeah, you do have characters from each respective team bantering off one another throughout the movie, but really the two teams don't fight each other until the very end. And speaking of the very end, I wasn't a big fan of the last fight scene. Granted, I didn't think it was bad. It's more the setup for it. I'm not gonna give too much away, but it involved Iron Man being an idiot, along with being familiar with a particular scene from his past. Another dislike I had was the fact that in the comics, there's a particular quote that Captain America said. In the movie, the quote is said, but not by Captain America, which really bugged me, because it's a pretty kick-ass quote, too. Another problem I had with the movie is the villains. Granted, this movie didn't really need to have any villains, but for the ones that they do introduce, I'm okay with one of them, which is Crossbones, because one, he looks badass, as in, he looks like his comic book counterpart, and second, even though he doesn't have a very big role in the movie, he does his part. As for the actual main villain, Barnes Zemo, on the other hand, in the context of the film, I thought he was rather forgettable, but in terms of his concept, I thought it was handled well. Because when we really think about Barnes Zemo in this film, he's like Loki from the first movie, but here's the difference. With Loki from the first Avengers movie, this was his plan. Okay, have these characters fight one another, but that plan backfires because, one, by doing so, he formed the Avengers and they all defeat him. With Ultron, he wanted to tear them apart from the inside out. He does on more of a psychological level. With Barnes Zemo, he already knew that the characters were at odds with one another because of events from past several Marvel movies, so all he had to do was just push them a little bit further using Bucky, and he was set. So, in a way, he's kind of like Loki fully realized. But, again, I didn't think his character was necessary. And in comparison to his comic counterpart, they really played him more as a sympathetic character. Because when I think of Barnes Zemo, there's two things that come to mind. One, he's diabolical as all hell. And second, his costume. Why couldn't we just have that glorious purple sock on his face with a golden crown? So, in a way, conceptually, I thought Zemo was handled well. Just in terms of personality and physical design, not so much. So, for my final rating of Captain America Civil War, out of the Captain America movies, I still prefer Captain America Winter Soldier over this. But as far as kick-starting a new phase to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this was a good way to kick things off. Because this is definitely not a disappointment like Iron Man 3, and this is what Avengers Age of Ultron should have been. It goes in dark places, it has a lot of memorable characters, and we see a great divide among the Avengers themselves, and which only makes me curious as to how this is going to affect the rest of the universe. And so, before I get my final rating, what did everyone else have to say about Captain America Civil War? So it looks like a lot of people really liked Captain America Civil War. So, for my final rating of Captain America Civil War, I give it a 4 out of 5. Here's to 50 episodes and here's to 50 more episodes. And see you later.